Hey guys, Ritz back again at Unknown RC. Today we're taking a look at the FMS F100 high roller truck. I'm going to try and just run through stuff really quickly just because YouTube doesn't seem to like me making longer videos, so we're going to try and keep it like under 10 minutes. I just got this truck. I've just taken out of the box. I've only done a couple of things. Nothing really crazy and exciting. I mean, I put the wheelie bar on and I threw a battery in it, put some oil on the motor bearings, checked the play in between the pinion and the spur gear, which does not appear to be adjustable at all. There aren't even any extra holes in the motor mounting plate if you wanted to change sizes of pinion gears. So, I mean, it is what it is. I do like the fact that the motor mounting plate is in fact metal. You could drill extra holes if you wanted to try and mount different gears. Um, there is a lot going for this truck. First and foremost, for me anyway, is this F100 style body. It is a licensed body. It has the licensed high roller graphics on there. You can see this thing looks pretty good. You got that nice Ford up on top of the grill. It does have, headlight stickers, tail light stickers, but none of the stickers actually. I mean, none of the lights on this are actually lights. Everything is just a sticker on it. And for the price point, under $200, significantly under $200, I wouldn't expect too much as far as that kind of thing goes. But the rest of it, like I said, does have a lot going for it with a couple of minor drawbacks, but honestly, nothing to get excited about. I love these body clips that are anchored right to the body so that as you pull them out, they just stay in place. There's no chance of losing them. If you crash and they pop off, they're just going to be right there. You just shove it back in. The body lifts right off. The only thing I'd complain about on the body is these sides are pretty thin. I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit more in the way of, some thicker material there, but honestly, if that's the only complaint, that's really not a big deal. Chassis looks really solid. The shocks have rock guards on them to protect the shafts, which is nice. The steering links are not adjustable. However, I did buy a kit a while back that is supposed to fit a Traxxas Slash to give you adjustable links throughout the car. I used two of them on this Kyosho Sandmaster to replace the steering links. Those were the shortest ones. These here are the remaining four plus the one off the Kyosho Sandmaster I didn't break. And the longest ones here look like they're going to be a good fit to the steering links on this in the event that those break. But those are really, they're pretty thick. Like, I would be very surprised if you were to actually break this shaft. I mean, that looks like at least a solid 3/8 of an inch thick. This is a two-wheel drive monster truck with big chevron pattern balloon tires. There's no foams in there, and that's fine by me. Back in the day, I had a Marui Big Bear, which fits that same idea. Two-wheel drive, big balloon tires with no foams. That, however, did not have oil-filled shocks. This does, which is something I definitely think is going to be a big benefit. It comes with a wheelie bar on the back, of which the wheelie bar has 3 adjustable mounting points. I actually have it set at the lowest setting. And quite frankly, I think that is going to be just fine. You can see, like, the size of that wheelie is pretty impressive at the lowest setting. And I think that's going to be where I'm going to start as far as driving it goes. Um, it looks, from what I can read off the label, I believe that is a 14-turn 550 brushed motor in there. One of the things that was surprising, and I don't think we're going to be able to get it on camera, there's a motor cage that guards the back of the motor, which is really nice to see. The ESC has the standard capacitor built into it, which most manufacturers at this point don't bother putting any capacitors on the motor. This one actually does have one, so you have sort of a dual protection built in there, which basically is there to help, safeguard the ESC during periods of really hard acceleration or braking where it's, going to be at its maximum amount of stress. There are plenty of extra places to plug stuff in, so you can add a motor fan, which they do give you a mounting spot for what looks like a 25 millimeter fan. The bolt holes are 20 millimeters apart, so you could add that, and it's a real short distance up to here to plug it in. And of course you also have various other things if you wanted to plug in, I'm assuming, lights or whatever. It is a 3-channel radio, so you can also use that to add various different accessories to it if you wanted. But it was definitely nice to see that capacitor on the back of the motor where you get that secondary level of protection against things. The truck overall really does look like a pretty nice quality build, especially, like I said, at this price point. Everything seems quite well put together. The remote is a very familiar setup. There are an awful lot of RC vehicles that use this remote. It has a plastic wheel, so it doesn't feel amazing, but it is absolutely functional. You have your standard steering trim, throttle trim, dual rate, bind button, servo and throttle reverses, that kind of thing. There are dip switches in there that you can utilize to change from forward reverse brake to just forward and reverse, lipo versus nickel metal hydride, and then you have settings for your drag brake if you want it. If you don't want it, you can change it from 50 to 75 to 100% if you are going to use it. So that is certainly a serviceable piece of equipment that comes with it. Has an XT60 connector. I've used an adapter to go to a Dean's connector because that is what most of my batteries have. That is one of the only complaints I've got, really, is the battery tray right here has a clamping system where you've got like the lock, and then there's another tab here that you have to pull, and let's see if we can get that in frame. There is like a little lip on this that clicks into place when you push it into the slot, and then this folds forward and clicks and locks that into place, so that ultimately it's probably pretty secure, although it is plastic, and so I expect over time it is going to loosen up as you change batteries in and out, in and out, in and out. So it may be less secure the more you use it. This piece of foam from the factory is quite a bit taller than I have it here, and that is because this battery, which is not even a hard case battery, so it is the shortest battery I have, when it's in the car, you really cannot get this closed down to actually latch into place, which is kind of frustrating. I trimmed off probably a little more than a 1/4 inch, maybe 3/8 of an inch of the foam. Now it fits. The battery just slides back and forth underneath it with it fully closed. And so the piece that I cut off, I've got stuffed in the side here so that it's very secure side to side as well as top to bottom. Ultimately, not a huge deal, but it is something to be aware of. There we go. Snap that back in. Snap the lock back in. And now everything is all set. It does have a slipper clutch on there. And I counted as I turned it all the way in. It's set from the factory at 2.5 turns out. My experience has been that most factory settings are a little bit loose, basically in favor of preserving the drivetrain, especially with novice drivers and that kind of thing. And so when I backed it back out, instead of the full 2.5 turns they had it set at, I put it at 2 turns, which still offers you some usage of the slipper clutch and protection of the drivetrain, but is going to be overall a little bit more, I think, responsive off the line, where you're not going to, run the risk of basically slipping and having, a sluggish start to things. I think it was, pretty loose to begin with. And so I just tightened it up a little bit. Not a big deal. The steering servo, it feels pretty stiff. Like it feels like it's got some decent power behind it. And when you turn it on and actually use the steering wheel, it's not the fastest, but it's also certainly not the slowest. So that's not bad. Throttle, we get some light ballooning of the tires. I currently have the drag brake turned all the way off. So that I expect some reasonable speed, probably high teens, maybe 20 miles an hour with the setup that's in here. I will say, I don't know, let's see, try and turn this thing around so you can get a good look at what I'm seeing. So you can see how much that's jumping around. I mean, these are big wheels, big tires, that kind of thing. So I expect some of that. If you have the equipment available and the ambition to do so, it really might benefit from balancing these wheels, and I might actually do that at some point. But again, not a huge deal, and something that I do on a fair number of my cars. So other than that, the drivetrain definitely sounds nice and smooth. All the components look, really heavy duty. Your control arms, the shocks are really pretty good size. The bumpers are certainly adequate. All of that's great. The wheels, right from the factory, spin nice and free, like no problem at all there, and that is without adjusting the tension that they put on the wheel nuts from the factory. A lot of vehicles come with those slightly over tightened where you need to back them off a little bit. I have not had any issues with this. You can see it's still going, like nothing at all wrong there. I don't know what is in this for a servo, and there's no way without pulling everything apart to actually figure that out. But yeah, so far I'm really impressed with this thing. I did not pay full retail price. It is not because, anybody sent it to me or anything like that. I found one on eBay at a tremendous bargain below the standard retail cost, and snapped it up. I've been shopping these